Okay, so it was a few weeks ago now that we did the most anticipated video.
Right.
And already I get to dive into mine.
Yeah, so, same here.
Oh yeah, forgot. So, which means we're gonna get to start off with Jason Bourne, which comes up about a month after I did that video. We probably could have planned them closer, but forget it. As I mentioned in that video, if you didn't see it, both Matt Damon and Paul Greengrass came back for this, which we weren't sure if that was going to happen for a while. Because there was this stage where Greengrass didn't really want to do another one, and then Legacy came out, and they had Jeremy Renner doing his thing, where it was in the same world, and a few of the same characters would pop up, but for the most part it was kind of its own thing, regardless of being within the same story. And then this eventually just kind of happened. I don't even remember what the build-up to it was. We just kind of, we're going to go ahead and do this. And we got Greengrass and Damon's here. We're just going to keep going. And I understand that Ultimatum was a really good stopping point. Mm-hmm. It would have been. But at the same time, I was excited because I wanted to see, as I said in that video, even though we did reach a good stopping point, there still was enough left open to where you were kind of wondering what else they could do with the story and what they can continue on with. And with Damon and Greengrass coming back, that seemed like a pretty good sign. And for the most part, it is. Like I said, seemed as if it was going to be. Apparently, the reviews are a bit underwhelming. I think because most people are in love with Ultimatum. Yeah. So they either probably didn't think this was necessary, or they went in hoping that Ultimatum would be topped. That's probably was not the way to go, but to go on. I was concerned with how it was going to play out amidst the series, mainly based on its title. Because it does seem like a bit of a... I could have... when this title was first released, I really thought it was just a working title. I did not think it was going to stick at all. But here it is.
Yeah, it feels like a weird title. It feels like the beginning of a series or the end of one.
Like Jack Reacher.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's the route we're taking.
Jason Bourne prophecy.
Oh god.
Next movie.
Even the Bourne Legacy stuck with the title, but
Yeah.
So and it picks right up. We have now it's not just him that's on the run now. It's Julia Stiles as well. Because Julia Stiles goes in and does this huge hack that it's such a big hack they compare it to Snowden a couple of times.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of both of them, and it's kind of reminiscent of Identity again a little bit because it's him and her kind of working together.
Right.
And that's kind of how I went in going into this. When I heard that the reviews were underwhelming, I was thinking, so is it more like Identity, or is it kind of a whole other thing? Because I'm just going to assume they did not see the verses. I'm just going to say these things to make them clear.
Fair point.
Identity is actually my favorite one. And Supremacy and Ultimatum I like a lot, especially on a technical level, but they kind of blend together a little bit because they're so nonstop. And this one is not nonstop. And it's certainly not as nonstop as Supremacy or Ultimatum.
No. Especially
not Ultimatum. Because Ultimatum is like just a straight 2 hours of just adrenaline, just completely without stopping, pretty much. This one has a lot of this one actually kind of has a lot of plot going on that we have to stop a lot for, which isn't a problem. I mean, that might sound like it, especially since this is technically a follow-up to Ultimatum. But I was perfectly fine with it. I also like the addition of Alicia Vikander's character. Because when she was put on the cast list, my immediate thought was, oh great, he's got another love interest. But she's not. She's basically another, she's like our new Joan Allen. Which is perfectly fine with me. And she's a really good actress. She doesn't, it's not obvious, it's a Bourne movie. It doesn't necessarily call for a great performance or even a great actress, really. But we had Joan Allen, who is incredible. Why not, back her up with a recently Oscar-winning actress? And with the way they set her character up, it seems like we're going to I'm going to assume they're going to keep going. I mean, this is not the stopping point.
No, they definitely have to keep going now. But what do you
we're
call
still,
it?
And we're still waiting for that convergence with Aaron Cross, which sometimes Damon says will happen, sometimes Damon says won't happen. I don't know. I do agree with Damon when he said that he thinks he can't imagine a movie where Jason Bourne and Aaron Cross are like working together. You don't really see Bourne as a work. I mean, there was, Frank Abedenda in the first movie, and a little bit of Supremacy. But for the most part, especially this far into the story, it's really hard to imagine Bourne, like, partnering up with anybody. Like within the field. Obviously, he's got, people every now and then, but, yeah, I don't know. So it'll be very interesting to see where this goes. And Vikander's really set up to have a pretty major part here, and I'm very interested to see where her character goes, based on where we left her. And our bad guy is Tommy Lee Jones. One of our bad guys. Let's be clear here. There's more than one. But our CIA guy, that's the one. There's always the guy in the room looking for Bourne. It was Chris Cooper, and then it was David Strathairn, and then it was Edward Norton in Legacy. Now it's Tommy Lee Jones, and what's really interesting about this character the drive was always there for these people looking for Bourne, especially with Noah Vosen. Like I mentioned before, also I was disappointed that David Strathairn was not on the cast list, because Noah Vosen is like Jason Bourne's Blofeld, which I love. So I was really disappointed. I know he's incapacitated in the story right now, so it makes sense that he's not here. But so I was wondering how they were going to follow up a villain like Noah Vosen. And this character, Tommy Lee Jones plays, does not have a very threatening name, but he makes up for that. Very much so. And the great thing about it is immediately, before we even see him, we see his picture in the paper, and we immediately know why he is so driven. And he's driven in a lot of ways, but just from the very get-go, the first time we see him, his picture's in the paper under a headline that says, like, everybody's losing faith in the CIA. And he's, like, the guy that's, like, right here at the top. So it's basically kind of a public humiliation thing, and you're a complete and total failure thing, as far as the CIA is concerned, which is a really big deal because it's the fucking CIA. So this guy is going to be incredibly driven, just by this alone, let alone other things that may or may not come up. And of course, Tommy Lee Jones is a fantastic villain all the time. So, I mean, you can bash Batman Forever all you want, but just disregard it completely. Anytime Tommy Lee Jones is a villain, I'm just so happy. I really am. Blown Away is pretty underwhelming, but we'll forget that happened. Him listening to U2 and building bombs and shit, his Irish accent. But anyway, our other villain. I was like, okay, so we've established a new Chris Cooper, a new Noah Vosen. Who's going to be our new Clive Owen, or Carl Urban, or Edgar Ramirez? Who's the one that's, like, right in there chasing Bourne? And it's Vincent fucking Cassell. Yeah, I remember when the news broke that he was cast, and I was ecstatic. And then at some point I forgot about it. And then when he appeared in the movie, I suddenly remembered. It was like, oh my god, this is going to be good. And I love that there's no elaborate intro either. Like with Clive Owen, there was a lot of build-up to him. Like, we kept kind of cutting back to him every now and then, and he progressively kind of showed his importance in the story. And Carl Urban's, like, kind of there immediately in Supremacy. And, but Vincent Cassell's character requires no introduction. He just gets a call, and he's like, okay, he goes into a back room. He shoots a dude in the head that's tied up in a bathtub, and it's like, we know what he's in the story for, and that's all we need to know. For the rest of this movie, he's going to be chasing Bourne, and that's all we care about. Oh my god, it's spectacular. That first chase scene is very, very good. But while we're on the subject, I have to jump to the end just real quick before we go back. There's another big chase scene. I mean, obviously there's a lot of chase scenes in it because it's a Bourne movie. But you have this big chase scene at the beginning, which is very good. But then we have our climatic chase, which is, once again, it's kind of hard to gauge what is and isn't a climatic chase in a typical Bourne movie, because it's just always happening. But this is a fucking climatic chase. This chase with Vincent Cassel, who in a hijacked SWAT truck, with Bourne chasing him through Las Vegas, is jaw-dropping.
It turns into world's scariest police chases.
Oh my god. This chase is one of the most incredible things I have seen in an action movie in quite some time. I was exclaiming out loud, which is fine because the movie was so loud nobody could hear me.
Yep.
And the people in front of me were making a lot of noise too because they were as excited as I was. Wow. Like, the whole movie is very good, honestly. But if you're wondering if this is something you want to see, I swear to any high power you believe in, this chase in Las Vegas by itself is why you should go see this movie. Just by itself. Like, if that little 10 to 15 minute scene was the whole movie, I would tell you to pay full price to see this.
Or you can accidentally go into the
God.
movie early.
Oh my god. But no, see the whole thing, please. It's all good.
It's deserving to be watched.
We introduced another character who is, Riz Ahmed is in this.
Yes.
He gained a lot of popularity with Nightcrawler, but I still always call him Riz Ahmed from Four Lions.
Yes, absolutely.
And he's basically like this, he's also in a really good movie called Ill Manners that people should probably check out. It's one of those multi-story things. And he's like this Jobs Zuckerberg's kind of thing.
Yeah.
He's a technology-based entrepreneur who has a place in the story, and he's another one of those actors where it's in Four Lions he really showed something. Like, that's when kind of people started to say, hey, that guy. Like I said, I still call him Riz Ahmed from Four Lions. That's his full name to me.
Yep.
And then Nightcrawler came out and everybody fell in love with that, and it's like, oh man, that guy's great. And so it's really great that he's in like big movies like this now.
Exactly.
I hope that keeps happening for him. So yes, we have a lot of, while we still have the same feel, it's very much a Bourne movie. It's Bourne running around with people in an office looking at monitors, chasing him, with one dude in there. It's all the same movie, again, I promise. But at the same time, these new characters really add some life to it, but also, it's, like I was saying, it's less also Greengrass than Supremacy and Ultimatum are. And surely you know exactly what I mean. That very famous Paul Greengrass cinematography of Never Sit Still, that gives people motion sickness. Like, I think when Captain Phillips came out, that was a big complaint that people were like puking or something. Mm-hmm. It's not I don't know about you, but this one to me didn't feel quite as frenetic. It's still there. It's still a Greengrass movie. But it's not like, if you have a huge problem with the shaky cam thing that Greengrass does a lot, it's a lot more steady than in Supremacy and Ultimatum. Like, it's a lot easier to tell in this, what's going on in the action scenes.
Mm. Oh yeah, definitely.
It's like, sometimes in Ultimatum I'm totally lost, but the action's really clear in this, and it's really well shot.
I like the hand-to-hand combat and dead silence too.
Oh yeah,
that's great stuff.
These movies know how to do action so well.
Absolutely.
There is some stuff, that doesn't quite land. There's a big scene. There's a scene that's very, very significant that should be a really, really big deal, but a lot of its power is kind of lost because it very, very much mirrors a scene from Supremacy. Like, it felt like it should be a big deal, but while watching, I was like, I'm getting huge Bourne Supremacy flashbacks during this scene. There's also something I imagine will probably get a lot of flack, which is there's a certain motivation that's brought forth towards the end. There's a reveal, and this reveal is very plot turn 101. Like, it's very, it's a very uncreative plot turn. Bourne. But honestly, in with the confines and the way it actually does serve to push the story and the motivations of a couple of the characters, I was fine with it. I mean, it was hard, it was a little difficult to get past at first. It was like, wow, that's a little lazy. Like that's the big thing. Because it's like that's about 1 billion other movies I've seen in my life, but I like the way they handled it anyway. And there's some stuff also that's it feels like familiar ground. How many movies have we seen now where the dude in hiding is a bare knuckle boxer and is in his hiding out time?
Yeah, it's very weird. Don't know why that's the case now.
It just always is now. But yeah, for the most part, I'm pleased. I definitely left pleased. Which I wasn't sure about because I'm not, regardless of how much I was looking forward to this, I'm not as big of a Bourne fan as a lot of people are. I like them. Some of them I like a lot. But I've never been fully in love with any of them. Which goes to show you my identity is my favorite one, which that probably tells you that in itself. But yes, I was looking forward to this, and it definitely reached expectations. Especially, I cannot praise that chase enough. Good God. I'm going to be thinking about that for a long time. I'm going to be... that'll hold me off for another week before Suicide Squad gets here. Yeah, the next time we get back to the theater, that's going to be what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
So yes, I'm happy. Our second movie is going to be Bad Moms. Yet another movie in the long list of movies where we take something that's innocent and we put bad in front of it and we make a raunchy movie. This has never happened before. So, we are still stuck in 2005. No, 2003 even. Okay. It's a very simple plot. Mila Kunis and Kristen Bell and Catherine Hahn are... Well, let's back up. Just Mila Kunis is... this mom that works in Amy Schumer's office in Trainwreck, aka Kate Hudson's office in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, aka any other actress's office in any other movie. Anne Hathaway in The Intern. Every fucking buddy works in this office. So, and you can bet that if you work in this office, you will be falling in love soon. So, whether you're married or not, it might be to somebody else. So, it starts off, and of course, Mila Kunis is overworked, and her husband doesn't really pay attention to anything, and he's selfish, so she has to watch the kids, she has to run the errands, she has to go to work, she has to drive around like mad, and try to eat while she gets to places, and end up with spaghetti in her face, and just all that other stuff. Until she gets fed up, and she's like, you know what, I'm just going to rid myself of all responsibility. I kind of get where the comedic setup comes from, but I feel like that if I know I'm a nobody, but if I were running the writing room for this movie, the plot would throw up some red flags kind of immediately. I'd probably want to get around before we went further into the story. But her plan is to basically just abandon her kids. Just to make them fend for themselves. Like she's like, yeah, this is the house that you live in that I pay for. Other than that, you're on your own. And these kids are like, how old? 10?
Yeah. They're preteens.
So, and it's basically, I know, she's been worked up and she's, her life's so frantic and all that. But honestly, mainly, it's just to stick it to Christina Applegate.
Oh, big time.
So, of course, the message of the movie is going to turn into, oh, but you have, you're selfish and you're responsible and you have to be, you're a mom and that's what you have to be because that's just what your life is. And that's your responsibility. That's how it goes. But in the meantime, we're going to have fun with this outlandish concept. So, yeah. If you can get on board from that, you're good to go. But you might have a lot of questions. The guys that wrote and directed, I believe, are the writers of The Hangover. Because the last time I believe they teamed up to direct a movie that they wrote was 21 and Over with Miles Teller. Have they done one since then?
This isn't helping them at all.
I know, that's scary. You'll notice something immediately, and that is, I mean, I get the audience, and I get what they're going for, and I get that it's just a dumb comedy with a lot of, sex jokes in it. But just something that kind of caught me immediately was to go along with this. I mean, it's a setup that's you certainly want to watch to see how this turns out, because it can only be disastrous, and you want to see if they really go for it. However, it still never escapes this feeling of being so damn generic. And I don't just mean, like, the performances and the jokes and the plot or any of that, but just the look of it. It looks like, in appearance, every comedy known to man that has come and gone and been long forgotten. And that's just not something you want to put out there immediately. That's not something you want to just kind of, present immediately. Yep, this movie is so damn basic, we're not really going to put a whole lot of anything into it. We are still making money off The Hangover. We don't care what we do in our careers anymore. We will make money off The Hangover for as long as we live. So, and this is basically, you basically know the movie from now on. It's that whole thing of, and let's not get into this whole thing. Of course, women can be hilarious. There are a bunch of female comedians out there that are great. There are a lot of actresses out there that are very funny.
Right.
But we're in this thing where it's all about Hollywood trying to, a certain portion of Hollywood trying to prove to another portion of Hollywood that women can be funny and raunchy and dirty and shit. Starting with, basically Paul Feig tried to start this movement with Bridesmaids and so on. I believe there's a ton of movies before Bridesmaids, but Bridesmaids is kind of the poster child for where this started, because it was the post-Hangover raunchy women movie. Only problem is you're not making a very good case when it's one thing to show that women can be funny, but when you only give them one joke in a full script that they just have to stretch and stretch as far as they can, you're not giving them really a lot of room to show off what they can do. I'm of course talking about, I really, really wish that there had been a counter in the bottom right corner of the screen for the entire movie that was a vagina count. Mm-hmm. How many times is the word vagina said throughout this movie? Most of the time in a desperate attempt to be raunchy. Because the big thing is, no pun intended, that apparently all comedies about guys are just guys talking about their dicks. So this portion of Hollywood is like, well, women can talk about their vaginas, so let's just do that. Let's just have them say vagina all the damn time. And every piece of dialogue that they have, because it's progressive or something. And it's even, I don't know how many times I've heard this exact line in a movie. But we have that scene where Catherine Hahn is talking to a dude, and she uses a euphemism for her vagina. But then she follows up that euphemism with saying, I'm talking about my vagina, because she has to point out that she can say it. I feel like I've seen that scene in like a bunch of movies, especially lately. Like, I can't pinpoint a specific one by name, but I'm pretty sure I've heard that exact line in like 5 movies now. And they were all in like the last 5 years. But, okay. And that's the thing, is every single joke is a sex joke. Like, every single joke in the movie. Like, I cannot think of a single one off the top of my head that's not like slapstick related. That's not a sex joke. And the reason I say this is because, like I said, the argument is women can do movies where they all make sex jokes too. Yeah, but here's the problem. Even in a movie with all dudes, constant sex jokes just... This is my, when This Is the End came out, I complained about this. This Is the End is a complete and total sausage fest.
Oh, yeah.
And that grew... Funny as that movie is, and as much as I do like it, my biggest complaint about This Is the End was that they just had a really one-track mind on where the humor was. They did not want to branch off from sex and shit. That was it. And yes, no matter what your gender is, that shit wears thin really fast. You really need to be doing other things. So, yes. And then eventually it kind of... there's a couple of things here in regards to the boss. We just need to revisit the boss, apparently.
No, we don't.
Because you'll notice, one of the big things... Okay, to this movie's credit, one of the things I hated the most about the boss, and I hated every damn thing about that movie.
Yes.
But one of the things that really pissed me off the most was that they had Kristen Bell, and they gave her nothing funny to do. Nothing. There wasn't even there was not even a moment of her trying to be funny, with something they gave her, and it failed. No, they just didn't give her anything funny. She just had to stand there while Melissa McCarthy screeched and fought Peter Dinklage with a sword. I know, I wish the boss wasn't back in my life, but I gotta bring up two things about it that link to this. For starters, it's nice to see that, Kristen Bell is involved with that bra joke again. That was straight out of that movie. And secondly, didn't the boss also have a huge plot point in it that was a fucking bake sale?
Oh yeah, that was in the trailer.
Okay. There's a bake sale in this too. I was saying, to this movie's credit, Kristen Bell does get to do funny things in this. Whether you think it's actually funny or not, she gets to do things that are comedic. Which is a lot more than you can say what they gave her in the boss. So that's unfortunate that I had to remember that much about the boss while watching this. But anyway, going on to this bake sale now. What happens here is that we basically... This movie kind of turns into a combination of two movies that you would not think would somehow combine into one whole. And that is that this movie becomes Daddy Daycare by way of Sisters.
That is a very good comparison.
And with Christina Applegate doing Angelica Houston's role in Daddy Daycare.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what this is. There's no other way around it. I am pretty sure the party scenes in this movie were shot while the same party scenes in Sisters were being filmed. They were just like in two separate parts of the house. So take that for what you will. However, it's okay. Now, just to bring this in here real quick, if there is one thing that the movie doesn't completely just crash and burn and explode into just this horrible, wretched fire, like the boss, for instance, is mainly due to the cast. When we went in, I hate to be cruel, but, she's fucking Mila Kunis, she doesn't care. I was asking you, sincerely, if Mila Kunis was relevant anymore. Because when you look at this cast list, like, Kathryn Hahn's been popping up in some stuff, and obviously Kristen Bell is Kristen Bell.
Yeah.
When I looked at this cast list, I had no idea, by the way, going in, that Mila Kunis was the main character. Because, to me, when I looked at it, Mila Kunis seemed like the one that would have been, like, on the side. It's like, because I kind of felt like that's where she is now. People were saying it, and I kind of thought it was hyperbole, but no, I really think Jupiter Ascending might have ruined her.
It's a good possibility.
Because what was the last thing... What did she do between Jupiter Ascending and this? I know it's only like a year and a half. But somebody like Mila Kunis is typically... Well, no, she had a baby recently.
She's doing... Don't forget, she's consistently doing Family Guy.
She's consistently doing a Family Guy. I consistently forget Family Guy's even still happening.
No, the last thing she did was Jupiter Ascending, and then before that, ooh, you don't like this movie either, The Angriest Man in Brooklyn.
Oh, no. Well, I think her baby was in between these two movies, so that probably has something to do with it, but still...
Every year she's done a movie since 2014.
I kind of just forgot about her for a while.
God, she's been doing movies every year since 2004.
But anyway, even so, even though I was thinking that about her going in, and I've never really... I mean, I think there is, you know... I don't know how to say this without sounding like a tool, but there is, as an actress... I've never really seen the appeal much. Like, she got raves for Black Swan that to this day baffle me. Not because she's bad in it, but because I just don't get anything out of it at all, that performance.
Sarah Marshall.
She's just... I don't know. I only just now realized the reunion.
Mm-hmm.
Just now. So, but what I'm getting at is that this movie does not crash and completely, totally die, mainly because of how appealing the cast is. Han has a problem. Han is very funny, and she's very, very talented in comedy and drama. And Afternoon Delight is a really good movie that she was in recently, where she's got a lot of drama in it. That last scene in The Visit that was from out of nowhere. She was really good, but it's like, this scene really doesn't belong in this movie.
Alright.
She's definitely talented. It's just that problem, though, is her character is just one joke. And it's... Every now and then, she'll come in and say something hilarious, but for the most part, it's just a fucking flat line of the same shit. Every single time we see this character. Like I said, there's some times where she can really elevate it and say something really funny. But the writing is just doing her no damn favors. Which is unfortunate. Kristen Bell is lovely. I love Kristen Bell. And she's playing that age-old character where she's the very meek one, and her husband walks all over her. And we know eventually we're going to get to that point where she stands up to her husband, and it's this comedic scene where the meek woman says the F word, and it's a big deal, and it's... Yeah, but she's just so incredibly appealing, both as an actress and just in general. And like I said, she can be really funny. Which is why I hate the boss so fucking much.
Exactly.
So she takes this character that's also very much a one-joke idea, and, you know, brings something to it that's really, really likable. The scene... I can see the scene going both ways with audiences. There is a scene where Kristen Bell is wearing a hooded sweatshirt and a demonstration takes place. That almost kind of feels like this movie is not very good, and a lot of the jokes fall very flat. But this scene honestly felt like it was out of some classic comedy. Like maybe a movie from the 90s or something, or the late 80s this scene would have been in, and it would be like a classic in another movie. But it's in this one, so it kind of waters it down a little bit. So the girl who plays the daughter is really good too. She was also Gyllenhaal's daughter in Southpaw. Mm-hmm. Let's put her in with that group that's getting larger and larger of really good child actors we're getting lately. Una Lawrence.
Yeah, we'll be talking about her in Pete's Dragon in a couple weeks, too.
Oh, nice. So yes, all of that is fine. Obviously the plot goes off the rails a lot. Mainly because a movie like this tries to have a plot. Generally, it's not going to turn out very well. Especially when we get to the point that Christina Applegate's character is kind of insane. Like, it gets to a point where she's supposed to be like a parody of the PTA mom, but then they turn her into this totally, completely fictional character that would not exist in any realm. And they take it, like, pretty far, and after a while it's like, this character was supposed to be funny, right? Because I don't really know what's going on anymore with her. The castle thing is really funny, though.
That there's not many things I laugh at.
Because that shit's happened to me.
I know it has. You told me about it. But...
This is a movie that wants you to believe that Mila Kunis has a hard time getting laid.
Yeah,
You gotta really stretch the image.
There's no
Mother or not.
that.
Now in real life, Mila Kunis as a mom, I don't think that's gonna hold her back.
No.
Should that be an issue in her life? But this is one of those movies where you just kind of have to go with that, and you're not totally sure you can trust a movie that just automatically thinks you can believe that. So, and it's a whole scene. It's a whole montage. It's a whole 40-year-old virgin scene. And I'm just, yep, that's...
She's like babying all the guys and treating them like their mother. And
does not compute. Does not compute at all. And then, of course, we do get another character, a widower, of course, who is Jay Hernandez, who we're going to be seeing next week.
Yep, exactly.
With the other Smith.
Yeah, that's good timing for him.
He's, it's been a long time since I'd seen him on screen for more than 5 minutes. I was kind of taken aback. Like, that is him, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I didn't recognize him being on screen for more than 3 minutes. That's insane. Because I think his last leading role was Hostel. Because he had like 5 minutes in Lakeview Terrace.
Yeah.
He's one of the guys that answers the door at the end of Joyride. His line is like, "You guys okay?" And that's
The last thing he did before this was like Max.
He's one of the yeah, he wasn't Max.
And
he's one of the other firefighters in Ladder 49 too.
Yep.
I don't know why we're discussing Jay Hernandez's filmography in full now, but as far as his character goes, of course it's one of those cases where she's gonna leave her husband because he's basically been unfaithful. And of course he's the charming widower that's like ripped. So, because of course he is. And he's got a daughter that goes to school with her kids and all that shit. And he's charming and funny and smiles all the time. And he's got a tragic story, so of course we know what his purpose in this story is. However, how they handled it was not bad. Because this is a character that's set up for a lot of cliches that, weirdly enough, they never went in. Which was really nice and refreshing. Because her husband is still in the picture. They decide they're going to go to therapy with Wanda Sykes. And the thing about it is, this is the point in the story where you would have some forced conflict. Where she has to choose, is it going to be her husband or is it going to be, Jay Hernandez? And she's, starting to see Jay Hernandez, but then her husband says, let's go to therapy. And it's like, you just can't see this from a mile away. But they don't handle it in the way you think they do. It's very clean in the way it's handled. And I wouldn't even call it lazy either. It's just, there's just not a conflict there because the things are going in different directions. That was such a relief. Let me tell you. I was very happy they did that. And it's also refreshing, and it's a continuation to that. He is the love interest. And he's the one where we're just kind of... She's basically, when she's, having trouble getting laid, that's not we're supposed to believe Mila Kunis can't get laid. It's the script waiting for Jay Hernandez to show up. Because that's what happens. That's how these scripts are, that's the formula. So, obviously it's going to be very, very predictable. However, I found it very interesting that once they are kind of a thing, there really is not a conflict. He's just in her life now. And they don't use that for drama or anything. It's really nice. I really wish the side love story in movies did that a lot more often. Very, once again, very much a relief. We did not have that. So yes, overall, the jokes are very, very stale and very, very tired. But every now and then they do something very funny. And like I said, the cast themselves are charming enough to really keep it, going. Even Christina Applegate playing the witchy character has some funny things also. And like I said, the way they kind of divert away from some cliches is very nice and very appreciated. So I just kind of fall right in the middle here. It looked like a movie that could have been an absolute disaster. Like an absolute, total, complete dumpster fire. But I was okay with it. Like, I'm not, like, I never really was, you know, disgusted by it or anything. It was just, these jokes are tired, but then, hey, every now and then something would be okay. So, its target audience will eat it right up.
And they did.
I promise. I absolutely 100% promise. If you think this is your thing, it's definitely your thing.
It made me facepalm every single time I heard them laugh.
Oh, give them a break. It's their movie.
I don't care. I didn't like this movie at all.
Well, how would you feel if I was sitting in Suicide Squad?
You don't like my movies.
Let's say Suicide Squad is as great as I think it's going to be.
It's going to be.
And I'm sitting there, and I think it's great. And there's some girl over here with her boyfriend watching me going, every time he's happy, I'm unhappy. But that's not right.
Movies are preferential, though. I understand they like them, but I don't.
Okay.
That's how
Let
I
him
look
have
at
it. Let him have it.
I just thought it was a terribly made movie.
On a technical level, of course.
And it's not funny. There's maybe a third of it that made me laugh at all.
That's half an hour out of an hour and a half. That's a pretty good number.
Well, my math is horrible. You know that.
Okay.
So it's a
You
lot.
mean a small fraction.
An extremely small fraction. I think I maybe have laughed at maybe 15 jokes at that.
I was like, that's a pretty decent sized number, too.
Not for a whole movie.
Well,
That was trying to be funny throughout.
it happens. Okay. Our last movie is going to be Nerve. The new movie from the Catfish guys, no?
Yep.
Okay. So you know it's going to be real flashy and try to be real hip, and a lot of found footage look. It's not found footage, but it's that, you know, first person
Cloverfield
thing.
comes to mind when it comes to the way it was shot.
A little bit. Well, yeah, I guess so. And so, okay. Let me just start off because this is obviously a movie that's very, very much a concept movie. It's one of those movies where they come up with a concept that they feel is original, and they build a story off of it. And when the marketing comes around, the trailer is basically exposition on this concept. And then not to mention pop music and, you know, attractive young actresses that are popular right now running around. The marketing pretty much set itself up. So you talk about your concept, you talk about the rules, you talk about what it is, and it's this real, you know, hip thing in the social media age, and everything must be, you know, seen as it happens, and everybody's, you know, thirsty to watch people do stupid shit. And so we go on this, and basically it's, you know, look how great and clever and hip our concept is. Our concept. And the question is, okay, fine, you made a concept, but now can you do the whole movie without running out of gas? So let's see. There is the, okay, just, as far as talking about this whole attempting to be hip thing, and something that's gonna be like right in with all the popular shit right now, I talk about the concept and the use of the technology and social media and all that other stuff. I kind of feel like the casting of Emma Roberts was part of that too. Like, it wasn't necessarily, will Emma Roberts be good for this part? It'll be the people who would, you know, be into this like Emma Roberts, right? Let's just see if she'll do it. And take her clothes off in the process. You know, we gotta get that marketing out there. So, I can only assume her in the change room and then running out, streaking with Dave Franco is in the trailer.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay. So, I almost just called Dave James, so it's worth noting that there's that little thing in there at the beginning where we get the unfriended treatment.
Oh yeah, big time.
Where it's like, hey kids, this is what you're up to, right? So we see all the computer stuff and the icons and the music and the news articles, and one of the news articles is one of those clickbait articles, and it's just a picture of James Franco, and it says, "Is James Franco too smart?" It's like, I am pretty sure that was a little joke at Dave Franco's expense.
Yep.
Like 20 minutes before he's even in the movie. And then it just kind of, that's what it is. And then it becomes very, very heavy on its really, really brilliant concept. And of course, we got to go to exposition land before we even get started, because Emma Roberts is our main character. And I think the same piece of exposition is in every single movie that stars a teenage character ever. And that is the scene where you're sitting down with your mom. I don't know if they said where the dad was. I don't remember. There was a lot of exposition at one point. But she's sitting down with her mom, who more than likely is going to be an actress who's not getting enough screen time. Case in point today is Juliette Lewis. Oscar nominee Juliette Lewis is in this for about 3 minutes, which I suppose is a huge step up from Gem and the Holograms, so there's that. However, I believe this scene is in every single movie ever, which is the mom is sitting there, she's drinking her coffee, she's still in her robe, and she's looking all stressed out. And teenage daughter comes in, and she's like, Mom, the audience is watching, we're going to talk about my backstory now. So I feel like this is a good time to bring up that we should totally go through my dead brother's things. We really need to do that. He's been dead for however many weeks or months now. We need to go through his stuff now. And of course the mom's all, no, we must leave everything the way it is, because that's what you do with dead siblings. That's the way it goes. So now that that's established, it doesn't really have a whole lot of bearing on anything. But we establish it a couple of times, just so it's there, because character development. But don't worry, there's a lot more character development to go. We have, before we even get kicked off, naturally, to continue on, of course we have the bitchy guy friend. The guy who's basically, now, throughout them, I kind of wondered if this guy was going to get some kind of comeuppance, because okay, honestly, this whole thing is confusing. Who her friends are. I mean, I get that she's one of those girls that has the friends where it's like, you know, I have friends, but we're more like acquaintances, and I'm not even sure they like me, I'm not even sure I like them.
Right.
We don't have any interests in common. No, basically, we're kind of each other's thing, but this kind of flip-flops through the whole movie. So it's like, these are, in fact, her real friends.
Yeah.
The bitchy guy friend and the cheerleader.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question becomes, is the girl just using her, and is the guy, you know, in love with her, or what is he? Because when we get to a point very early when the bitchy guy friend is simply just the, you know, I love you from a distance, but I'll never tell you guy. Or it's very blatant and everybody around us knows it, but we still just kind of aren't doing that. But then there are other times where he is, like, controlling, or attempts to be controlling, and just kind of flat out tells her what to do. And it's like, okay, is he the best friend, or is he the guy that she's eventually going to tell off and we're going to feel satisfied? I cannot tell, which is really fucking sloppy character development. And then go forward to the cheerleader. Where we start off, and she wants to naturally, she's Emma Roberts, she's confined within herself, and she just is too shy, and she's too weird and awkward, but she wants to ask out the jock. So cheerleader goes over, because she's popular, and she's like, you know, asks out the jock, and it's like, oh no, she's doing it to humiliate her, because she's the cheerleader. That's what goes with being the cheerleader, who's best friends with the awkward girl. It's some used friendship, and she's basically trying to humiliate her. But the jock turns her down, because she's Emma Roberts, I guess. And the cheerleader stands up for her. Well, she's like, well, you're a complete fucking douchebag, and you're a piece of shit. And, you know, fuck you anyway. It's PG-13, so she doesn't say all this, but it's that gist of it. So it's like, oh, because she's a real friend then. Because she defended her after she got turned down by the jock. It wasn't a setup or anything. Well, cut to about 15 or 20 minutes later. And I, once again, like with the bitchy guy friend, I don't really know anymore. Because the thing about it is the cheerleader is like this big nerve player. She's got all the popularity, she's got all the watchers, she's got all that stuff. And she's real, real popular. and Emma Roberts won't play even though everybody's egging her on to. Well, obviously, of course, when Emma Roberts starts playing, she's like instantly popular. And immediately, supportive cheerleader friend is now a rival. Just immediately. She becomes the jealous rival. Switching right over from the protective best friend. Just like that. After egging her on to play the damn thing. But it makes the plot go forward, so there's that. And then they may or may not be all best friends again before the movie's over. Who is who and what is what, and what the fuck are they doing? They seem to have no idea whatsoever whether these are real friends or not, and what exactly their motivation is in the story, because they're just flip-flopping constantly. And it's really, really damn annoying. It has really, once again, no bearing on anything unless we reach a point in the plot where one of them is going to be useful. That's it. That's all they're here for anyway, so if the plot calls for her to be the bitchy cheerleader that's the jealous rival, then that's what she is. But then if Emma Roberts needs a friend or a shoulder to cry on, or somebody to kind of make amends with so we can come to a conclusion, she'll be that too. It just depends on where we are in the story, not what's happening to her as a character or how she would actually respond to it. These are the people we're following around for this whole story. So, get that in your head and see how that goes. But then we meet charming old Dave Franco. And obviously he's the daredevil type. I don't know. Dave Franco is very weird in the parts he takes on, so I'm really not sure what he's doing a lot of times. He very much loves being in movies that aren't as smart as they think they are. That's for damn sure. And so yes, continuing on, this, as far as characters go, isn't a whole lot either, despite how much time we spend on it. Because he too has a backstory, of course, that we have to dig into, like it's some big secret. Like as if he's hiding something. If he is, does it fucking matter? He's a complete stranger. But whatever. They rode on a motorcycle for a couple of hours. They're best friends now. And there's also an insta-romance as well. Which also just, I have no idea what these characters are doing, because later on, cheerleader girl is with the jock. Okay? The jock that she wanted to ask out. Dick move on her part, sure. But she is long past the insta-romance with Dave Franco now. She and Dave Franco are like really in it now. But there's a whole conflict over the cheerleaders with jock guy now. It's all very aggravating and pointless. But we need to have all this stuff filling in the blanks, because what did I say the problem was probably going to be in these movies that are so hung up on their brilliant, brilliant concepts they come up with? They only go so far. There is a lot of damn filler in between the game in this movie. There is so much time devoted in this movie devoted to going from place to place. When the game's not even being played. It is them, because we have this shot that the directors loved using. When we get, like, the map, where it's like, this is where they are, and it's like a thing, and it's, you know, pointing, and we see all the different players going around. We keep getting that shot for, like, every transition, to show that they're moving. Because the fact that they're actually moving does not tell us that they're moving. We have to see the map show us that they're moving to know that they're moving. Honestly, when he was on the motorcycle, I thought they were sitting in place, but I'm glad the movie told me in many different ways that they were going from place to place.
Wait a minute, but it's also telling you that people are failing and dropping out of the competition.
Okay. Well,
because we're having to get to the main.
Okay, because the guy in the way back that we saw his little flag, I totally thought that guy was going to be in the finals. I was so bent out of shape when that guy was out. We never saw him. We never saw his... We see, like, a couple of the faces at the beginning. But really, that's it. Just to show, hey, there's a lot of players. There's, like, one guy that is significant that we see in that montage. It's like, I think we know there's only 3 options of who the finals are going to be. It's the fucking Hunger Games. So, take that for what you will. So, and obviously that gives it very much a lack of flow. And it's really weird that a movie whose concept sets it up to be so frantic is seriously lacking in the flow department. Because it's like, we have a scene where it's like, oh, a dare's coming, and they have to do the dare, and they're on a time limit, and then they do the dare. And then there's like a stretch of time where it's like, let's go to the next place. And we basically watch them go to the next place practically in real time. It's like they do one dare, and then pop song montage, going to another place. And it's weird just how much, if you go back and think about it, how much time adds up with them just going from one place to the other without excitement. Just while a pop song plays to keep, the young kids in the audience occupied. Because it's like, I know this stuff! This movie knows exactly what I like! And that's that's what it is for most of the time.
You get PG-13 nudity.
Yeah, that brief, very brief. When I saw that in the rating, I kind of thought it was going to be the store. But, then I was like, well, how are they going to do that with a PG-13? But it's, yeah. It's also, eventually we get to a point to where they remember they have a concept that they so desperately want to show off. So in between dares that we actually see play out in full and going from place to place, they just kind of throw random scenes in there that it really didn't matter where they were in the story. Just to show other people doing dares real quick. Just to kind of say, look, our concept can expand a little. But it's real, like, it's one of the, there's no cohesion to it whatsoever. It's one of those things where they shot it knowing this will be so people can see what other dares are going on are, but it did not matter in any way whatsoever where it was in the movie. They could pretty much just play dartboard in the editing room where they put this shit. It is that insignificant. Like, it's nice to see that they tried to expand, but it's just so incredibly insignificant that it really doesn't matter. And eventually we get to an ending where, it's basically a message movie. A message that has been beaten into our heads by plenty of other movies. Like I was saying, the whole Hunger Games Battle Royale, whatever the fuck message. Everybody's bloodthirsty and wants to see people do dangerous things and even die, and they will watch intently. We fucking know! We know. And it's just, when it reaches this ending, it's just, everything about it is played out by this point. The concept is played out, its little message is played out. It's one of those cases where it looks like they drew something drastic and actually expect you to believe they really went that far. Please.
Okay. Here's the thing. I didn't hate this movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I didn't think it was a great movie. I thought it was fun. Here's my question to you. How do you keep a game like this secret on the internet in this day and age? The gimmick was you have to keep everything secret. Everyone is like, snitches get stitches. Yeah, exactly.
You basically, if you rat out people in the game, you become their prisoner and have to play the game forever. While they blackmail you.
It really sounds like a concept from Are You Afraid of the Dark?
It's very, that movie, movie 13 Sins with Mark Webber and Ron Perlman.
Yeah.
It feels like that too. And the thing about it is, I guess the only thing I can answer that question with is it's that, once again, these guys know what's happening in the teen world. So I think it's basically that concept of, this goes all the way back to
Catfish.
It's 2 a.m. Do you know where your children are?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, we don't know what our kids are doing on that internet. So I think that might be how the creators think they get away with it.
I don't see how anybody would not know. I mean, it's being broadcast. People have to understand what's going on. It's like, what are you watching? Oh, nothing. Don't worry about this. Answer me that question. Henry and Ariel, answer me that question.
When you, the defense attorney for this movie, has a question like that, that's a bad sign.
Yep.
So, not a fan. I feel like there were some scenes where I was like, I feel like this has the potential to be real fun, but no. Nope. It's just fucking stupid. Oh well. One of these days, Dave Franco, you will do another movie that's worth a shit.
Yep.
One of these days.
It's coming up this year.
Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. What is it?
It's a masterpiece.
Oh, yeah. That should be
I
interesting.
guarantee you that movie's going to be great.
We'll find out. Okay.
So that's going to end another edition of AJ's Movie Reviews. Before we take it home, obviously we're going to go through some star amounts. Jason Bourne.
3.
I called that. Bad Moms.
2.
Nerve.
1.5.
Okay. Next week. Long awaited. We've waited forever for this. It's one of our most anticipated movies of the year, and it's going to finally happen. Suicide Squad.
Fuck your Tommy Wiseau bullshit. It is my number 1 most anticipated.
I'm sorry.
And I'm very, very...
Mine's number 2 because of that movie.
I don't care.
But that's not only Batman that we're going to be tackling next week, because The Killing Joke is on next week's video.
And also...
Should be one thing, but it can't be, unfortunately, yet.
On top of seeing my most anticipated movie of the year, I get to watch my all-time favorite actor in the world become a fucking cat.
And Sharknado 4.
Let's leave.
Alright, Justice System is your versus Cryptic Comic for Sunday. Halloween Horror Nights podcast, Saturday night, 10 p.m. Stay tuned to the podcast network. Zazzle.com for merchandise. Podcast network on Twitter and our Facebook fan page. That being said, thank you guys and girls out there for watching. AJ, any parting words?
That's it.